Okay, so hello everybody. Okay, so share screen. Okay. So I guess you will record this session. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Okay, should I start? Just start?
Yeah, we can start.
Hi and welcome everybody. Yeah, this session is about messaging security. Yeah, I will provide you with a deep dive in EOP, Microsoft Defender for Office 365, and other messaging security features around Exchange Online and the related products. My name is Siegfried Jagodt. I'm a principal architect and the CEO of Intelity in Germany. I'm also an MVP. I think I started back in the 90s. So I'm a pretty long Exchange guru. I wrote books about Exchange, and I'm a Microsoft MVP ever since 2012. Yeah. Well, I put my LinkedIn QR code on here so you can connect with me if you want. Yeah. Yeah. As I said, this session is about messaging security. So let's not waste any time and start with the session. So here's the agenda for today. Yeah, I talk about EOP MDO plans and feature. So this is setting the basis more or less, so you know what you can expect or not. Yeah. Basically, I will explain how Microsoft follows the recommendations or how to follow the Microsoft recommendation. But I also bring in my own experience from various customers. Yeah, implementing EOP and MDO settings. Yeah, and lastly, best practices. It's always good to have best practices, correct? So you will see some of the EOP MDO settings that you should or can right now implement into your tenant. I hope everybody of you is in Exchange Online, of course, yeah, because this session is fully focused on Exchange Online. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing to talk about is what is Exchange Online protection? Well, basically, Exchange Online protection is an anti-spam, antivirus, anti-malware solution for your Exchange environment, for your Office 365 security. Yeah, EOP is a basic protection focused product. So basically, it protects your email so your users are not harmed by any spamware or malware phishers, for example. Yeah. So there's so EOP is about protection, and this is included in any Exchange Online or Office 365 plan. So even if you're on a business plan, you still have Exchange Online protection. However, when we talk about detect, investigate, or respond activities, you require an additional license. So that's called MDO P1 and P2. Yeah. So the basis here is that you can do anything to protect your environment. If you want more, then of course you need to purchase an additional license. However, my session is based on the standard stuff. So let's talk about like what you get for EOP MDO. So here you see the different layers. You see the edge protection. That's at the edge. Yeah, network throttling, IP reputation throttling, directory-based edge filtering. Yeah. So these are the edge protection when an email enters the system. For example, when an email is sent from a third-party email system to Exchange Online, that happens at the edge. Yeah, just remember that in the past we always had to manage the edge on ourselves. Yeah, and here this is done by EOP, of course. Yeah, so network throttling, backscatter detection, and even enhanced filtering. Yeah, for on-premise routing. That's all edge protection. Then we have sender intelligence. Yeah. So sender intelligence is basically that the sender is really the person they pretend to be. Yeah. So that's for example, technologies like DMARC, DKIM, SPF, we talk a lot about these, yeah, but also intelligent, so AI technology is used for cross-domain spoof intelligence, for example, yeah, or mailbox intelligence. So these are the sender intelligence features of Exchange Online Protection and MDO. Then we have the content filtering area. The content filtering is really going into the content, so it's going into the antivirus engine. So the attachment is scanned and it is made sure that there's no problem. Yeah. There's type blocking, for example. You can define attachments on a specific type, and there's enhanced stuff like safe attachments so safe attachments is really an advanced feature. You require P1 for that to scan attachments in a sandbox environment separately, so they are not harming your system. So you can define that. And post-delivery protection is basically what happens if you detect an harmful email after it has been delivered to your mailboxes. Yeah, so there's a feature called zero hour auto purge included into Exchange Online. Yeah, that can access the mailboxes, remove the attachments, yeah, or even remove the email. And here you have things like, as I said, ZAP, 0 hour auto protect purge, yeah, or you have like other areas like safe links. Safe links is also a P1 feature, an advanced feature that basically replaces all the links in your emails. So when you detect that the link that is in that email is harmful, basically you set it on a list and automatically, as it's replaced in all the emails, they are updated. Well, yeah. So that's a very important thing to consider when using Exchange Online Messaging protection. Okay, so let's talk about like high level. Yeah. EOP briefs gives you these features: spam, phish, malware, bulk mail, spoof intelligence. Everything is included in your basic license. Yeah. So this is just a list I don't want to confuse you with, just to show the differences. So when we go into P1 and P2, yeah, we got P1 is safe attachments. I already talked about that. Safe links. Yeah. So you also get safe attachments for SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. Yeah. So safe attachments is not only based on Exchange Online or mailboxes, even it was implemented then in this product first. However, now it's spanning all the M365 suite, which is awesome, of course. So safe attachment is also done in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, yeah, and we have real-time detections in P1. P2 gives you a little bit more investigation capabilities. So, for example, threat trackers or threat explorer. Threat explorer is a great tool that I use quite often in order to identify why a phishing mail was identified as phish, or why a spam mail was identified as spam. Yeah, so threat explorer is advanced. Yeah, only available in P2. There's a basic one included in the standard product as well. And you can do automated investigation, yeah, and attack simulation training. So you can send example emails to your users that look like a perfect phishing mail, and if they click on it, they get a warning. Yeah, so that's a real good thing to train your users, of course. And well, advanced hunting is also available. Advanced hunting is a very sophisticated like PowerShell environment where you can really do in-depth investigations. Yeah, so on a KQL script level, you can, for example, identify all messages that have a certain subject and fail in a certain configuration. and you can do actions with these. Yeah, of course that's highly sophisticated, and that's the reason it's in Plan 2. But that I don't want to confuse you. In order to show you the complete difference, I added this slide. I don't talk about this slide, but this is just showing you or providing you an overview of what features are included in what version. So far, that's it for let's say the basic stuff. Yeah. Now let's do a demo. So I want to show you now where is my? I want to show you my environment. Yeah. So basically, here you have the admin center. The admin center, of course, you're familiar with. And when you open the admin center, you have security in the admin center. If it does not show, click on Show All and click on Security. That opens, yeah, that opens your your security center, the Microsoft Defender. So on the left-hand side, you see the various areas that you have. Yeah, you see that I have endpoints, email collaboration, yeah, and even cloud apps. So these are different areas. So the area we are focusing on today is email and collaboration. And here you see the Threat Explorer, for example, you see investigations. Yeah, but the important thing that you should look at is policy and rules. Policy and rules brings you to the settings of the threat policies. So the threat policies are your anti-phishing, your anti-spam, your anti-malware settings. Yeah, and this is really key because here you configure the details about the stuff that you want to implement. Yeah, or you adjust the settings. So anti-phishing, for example, when we open it, you get your default anti-phishing policy, and when of course you can modify it here. Yeah, I feel it's kind of sometimes very complicated, yeah, to find the right setting in the right way. So you can of course also do this in PowerShell. Yeah. However, if you look at so anti-phishing, yeah, so we also have rules down here. So here in rules, in the rules section, you can configure the tenant allow and block list, the tuple, what we call tuple, yeah, and you also can configure, for example, your quarantine policies. And here's something interesting I wanted to show you that is not globally known. Maybe it's new to you. So you have global settings in the quarantine policy. And the interesting thing is, by standard, you get a quarantine message a day. Microsoft reduced this by earlier this year to within 4 hours. However, it's hard to find, correct? It's not that you see this. Yeah. So 4 hours. So here's my recommendation: change it to 4 hours, and your users will be more happy. Yeah. So as I said, this session is about going into detail about these settings. Yeah, how to tweak these settings, what areas you should consider. Yeah. Okay, so let's switch back to our slide deck. So what's available for EOP MDO recommendations? First, there is the preset security policies feature. The preset security policy feature is basically a feature that you can access here in threat policies by clicking on preset security policies. So these preset policies, basically, if you turn them on, Microsoft is able to manage your settings for yourself. Yeah. So when you turn them on, you can define, for example, a standard protection for XYZ people or for a group, and strict protection for another group. Yeah. And of course, yeah. So that's one area. Then we have the configuration analyzer. Yeah, you can run the configuration analyzer. That's also part in here. So that's when we go back, the configuration analyzer is here. Yeah. And lastly, we have what I call the best option is the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 recommended configuration analyzer. That's a long, a long word, but it's commonly called Orca script. Yeah, so it's the Orca script module that basically can be run and analyzes your environment. Yeah, so you To install it, you just run install -module name Orca in your PowerShell, but we will have a demo in a minute about the Orca script. So let's talk about preset security policies feature. I showed you where it is. It's in thread policies. Yeah. So basically, it's a security. It makes sure that your current environment is run as Microsoft wants it to be configured. Yeah. So by default, when you create, for example, a M365 tenant, a new tenant, yeah, you have certain settings and it's already the built-in protection. So it's good. Yeah, it's already good, but you can enhance it using, for example, the preset security policies. Yeah. You can apply the policies in any combination. Yeah, and of course, when you use multiple policies, the stricter policies always overrides the standard policies. However, from my perspective, as I said, I don't use preset security policies feature. I use my own brain about implementing what needs to be implemented for my customers. Yeah. So another way is the configuration analyzer. You can run the configuration analyzer, and it allows you to see what settings would be recommended to be changed in your environment. Yeah. And here you see strict, standard, and strict. Yeah. So it basically it tells you each and every setting. However, it doesn't explain the setting. Then that's more or less a little bit weird. Yeah. And in my environment, when I clicked on change, it did not change. Don't ask me why. Yeah. However, so what did I do? I used the Orca script module. So here's the Orca script module. Yeah. So the Orca script module, basically, you run a get Orca report. Yeah, and what it does, it basically connects out to your M365 tenant and retrieves all the information. Yeah, here you see a red, it's get protection alert. That's because I don't use PureView. Yeah, and of course PureView is also considered here. Yeah, I guess it's the most recent version might have this issue. Yeah. So it reaches out and collects all your settings, and also it collects your MX reports. Yeah. So it makes sure that all the MX stuff is correct and in your environment. Yeah, which is awesome, of course. Yeah. So in the sake of time, I created a report just before the meeting. So this is from today. You see at 10. Yeah. So here you see what the Microsoft Defender Configuration Analyzer report looks like. Yeah, it's basically a summary of, and you see it found 17 recommendations in my environment, and 45 are okay. So if you go down, it's a nice report, isn't it? Yeah, it's I really like this. Yeah, so a Microsoft consultant wrote this, so it's an add-on product. Yeah, but it's freely available. So you see here we have some areas that we can look at. Yeah, like here anti-spam policy 7. The good thing on this report is it gives you more details about what should be configured and why it should be configured. Yeah. So remove allow listing on senders. Yeah. So I have a list of senders that are allowed. And of course, they should not be allowed. So the recommendation settings, the recommended setting is it should be empty. Why? Because the allow list allows, of course, to send an email into my environment without much checking on malware and phishing, yeah, and anti-spam. So because it's whitelisted, yeah, there's not much checking done. So you see here, for example, remove allowed listing on domains. Yeah, so I have one domain that, yeah, so I should consider removing this. Yeah. What's also interesting is, for example, if you go malware filter. Yeah, so here is a malware filter. So here it says, okay, that's my configuration, and that's the missing configuration. Yeah, so it seems that I have a couple of things missing in here. Yeah. However, this looks like an error. I looked at this yesterday, and well, my settings is good here. Yeah. And as I said, so the good thing here is that all the script So this script provides you with an overview of what should be done. Yeah, if you look here, this is not recommended. Then it provides you with even background information. So we can look more into depth here on what's this setting is about and if we need to use it. Yeah, and of course we can then change it. So the script does not change it in your environment. You need to do this on your own, of course. So you go back to the admin center and change it there. Yeah. Okay. So let's switch back to my first. Yeah, we have this. Wait a second. Okay. So wait a minute. We have this. Okay, let's switch back to the thread policies. So the configuration analyzer here, yeah, we can go into configuration analyzer, which is, as I said, it provides a similar overview. However, you see, you only can apply the recommendation and view the policy. Yeah, so I highly recommend using the Orca script, yeah, in order to investigate what settings should be recommended. Okay, so best practices. We are on the run. Yeah. So first of all, and I already mentioned this, make sure you understand all requirements and apply them to your own environment. Don't follow a strict Microsoft recommendation because they might cause issues in your environment. Yeah. For example, there is reasons why you whitelisted a certain domain. If you remove it because Microsoft recommends it, something might be harmful or something might not work anymore. Yeah, and so my recommendation is really to look at the settings of the Orca script or the configuration analyzer, write them down. Yeah, write the Microsoft recommendation and write a recommendation what if you change that or if you do not follow the rule, write why you do not follow the rule. So for example, DKIM signing can help protect, blah, 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 blah. That's the description of the setting, yeah. So DKIM signing, so when you run Orca script, for example, it detects every domain that is added to your tenant. But not every tenant, every domain in your tenant is used for email settings. Of course, yeah. So the situation here is, of course, you don't need to turn on DKIM for an email domain that is not used for outbound messages, logically. So for that reason, the Orca script might say, okay, these domains are not configured well in means of DKIM. However, in your environment, of course, you consider this and you decided not to use it. So the importance here is collect this information and share it with your admins. Yeah, why? Because the next admin that will run Orca script, because they saw my session, they will run it, they will change it, and don't know why they changed, or don't know why we did not change it upfront. Okay, next, prevent whitelisting in EOP and MDO. Why? Because whitelisting allowed senders. Yeah, this means basically any user with an email address sending app that knows these email addresses can send messages to your exchange online and bypass the EOP scanning because they're whitelisted. That's the poor intention. Yeah. So EOP scanning means they are not scanned, and so phishing mails are not detected, for example. So the importance here is really, if you do this, if you do put something on the whitelist, know about it. Whitelisted IP address, yeah, is even worse. Allow only single. So my recommendation here is single IP addresses or very few IP addresses. Yeah, in the past, I had customers that whitelisted almost any environment, yeah, that they connected to their exchange environment, and this is not a good practice. Yeah, it's important that you know what IP addresses send emails to your system and whitelist them, of course. Yeah, but on the other hand, you should understand what IP addresses are really needed and which are not. So best practices: don't use IP addresses, sender or domain whitelisting if you can. It really, so make sure you understand what you're doing here. There's a possible workaround to prevent whitelisting, yeah, because whitelisting is important in certain areas. So a customer of mine pointed out the following workaround for that. So first of all, when you we put in two rules. First rule is to identify any DKIM SPF failed authentication. Why? Because DKIM and SPF failures indicate that the system that is sending is not allowed to send. Yeah. So first of all, the rule detects if there is a soft fail, SPF none, SPF fail in your or a DKIM fail in your environment, and of course it sets the header to authentication no. The second rule is basically saying, okay, which domains or which email addresses we want to whitelist. But the whitelisting is only done if the authentication, the fail auth, is not true. So basically that the authentication was successful and the whitelisting. And so these two pieces together make your environment so much more secure. Yeah, if you follow these. So whitelisting, you can do whitelisting, but use this workaround. Make sure all the email domains are in your EOP MDO policies. Yeah, that might be a no-brainer, but it's really key that you understand that when you add a new email address, you maybe need to modify your safe senders policy, for example, because that's based on a domain. If you implemented your thread policies based on domains, you need to add it here. Yeah. And also DKIM. Remember, DKIM is configured on a per domain level. Yeah, you need to add this. Especially, as I said, especially policies like safe links or safe attachments might not apply to new email domains. Next one. Yeah. Of course, this is also a no-brainer, but make sure SPF with a minus all, minus means reject, is configured for all your domains. Yeah. This is a key, so the target system can identify any sending system that is not allowed or authorized to use your email addresses. Yeah, don't forget your subdomains. Yeah, that's also key. What about DKIM? Yeah, DKIM is a feature that also protects your email domains. So why don't you just enable it? Well, OrcaScript checks your DKIM settings, which is great, and lets you and tells you to configure them. So my recommendation is it's easy, it's free, configure it. So DKIM is a two-step process. Yeah. So create DKIM keys. Yeah. Implement them in DKIM DNS keys. Yeah, and enable DKIM in the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. Yeah. And make sure the key size is 2048. Here, a note is rotate the DKIM keys every 6 to 12 months because they are not rotated automatically. I think that's still the case. I checked it recently and my key weren't automatically rotated. So you can manually set the DKIM keys to rotate. Rotate means they are refreshed and renewed. So DKIM is key for your sending environment. So please configure it and consider it. Next, yeah, the DMARC. Yeah, implement DMARC with a reject and quarantine. So with a policy. Yeah, so DMARC is the combination of SPF and DKIM and tells the receiving server what to do when SPF or DKIM fails. So P equal reject or P equal quarantine means the receiving server would reject the mail or quarantine the mail. So if you do not configure DMARC, environments like Google take it serious and use SPF. Like when you have a minus all, they reject. However, DMARC is basically the telling the system what to do when SPF fails, for example. Don't forget the policy for the subdomains. Yeah, that's also key. And yeah, make sure that SMTP gateways make sure that SMTP gateways that create the envelope use SPF and DKIM, yeah, and cannot send the messages without being detected. So which means your SMTP gateways also need to be added to the SPF DKIM settings in order to be authorized for sending your domains. Yeah. And well, DMARC fails are not rejected in Office 365 right now. Yeah. So the basic rule of Exchange Online protection is to basically not reject any email without a clear reason. Yeah. So DMARC, even if you if the sender says DMARC fails, is so P is equals reject, Office 365 won't reject them. Yeah, you can work around that, but you need to create a transport rule for rejecting those kind of emails. Yeah. And if you enable DMARC, consider tools like Valimail, for example, to authenticate. So that's a lot of DMARC. So let's talk about user impersonation protection. So user impersonation protection basically protects your users from being impersonated. Yeah. So impersonated basically means that a user from the outside pretends to be that user. Yeah. In a certain way, maybe a different domain, it may be a different letter, but the display name looks mostly very equal. So that's very hard. In my situations, I saw emails, for example, from a boss to the secretary to tell them to send money to somewhere. Yeah, and that's really serious. Yeah. So user impersonation is based on mailbox intelligence of Microsoft 365. So mailbox intelligence must be turned on in order for user impersonation must be turned on. Yeah. You can define up to 350 protected users in that user impersonation protection. However, don't turn it on right away. Make sure you understand the implications. So my recommendation is enable for 4 weeks a monitoring policy for user impersonation. Yeah. And consider the same for email display name. That these users have a private, for example, some users have a private email or Outlook account, and when they send back and forth, the display name is very similar. Yeah, and of course those users would be protected, and that's especially important when you work with external people. There's the same feature on user impersonation. Yeah, there's also domain impersonation. So let's talk about spoof intelligence. So spoof intelligence identifies senders that spoof your domains, for example. Yeah. However, spoof intelligence in my environments always causes some confusion. Why? Because if you work a lot with partners or third-party vendors, spoof intelligence, of course, detects these emails. Yeah, because I have an email with the partner and I have my own email, and if I send emails back and forth between my business email and my partner's email, then of course it's detected as spoof by spoof intelligence. Of course, the tenant allow and block list, the TAPL, can overcome this issue. Yeah, but that would whitelist the emails. Again, whitelisting emails is not a good thing. Yeah. So spoof intelligence, my recommendation is use it carefully. Maybe enable only monitoring for group first before you enable for everybody in your tenant, because especially in new environments, it causes issues with your users. So as an admin, you don't want to cause issues. You want to a protected system. Yeah. So make sure you understand when turning it on. Best of safety tips. There's safety tips that I see not enabled and customers. Yeah, I don't know why, because they're great. For example, first contact safety tip. The first contact safety tip, and you see it here, you don't often get email from blah, 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 blah. So this is a notification that the user gets when an email is delivered the first time to that user. And so the user can identify, oh, I never had contact with this email address, so it might be something weird. Yeah. And that's, of course, it's important to identify malware, spam, phishing, those kind of messages. Yeah. So the user gets more information. You can turn on the user impersonation safety tip, the domain impersonation safety tip. Yeah. And I recommend the unusual character safety tip. unusual characters are like for an S, it's a dollar maybe, or something like an E is an explanation mark or something. So weird characters in a display name or in an email address that that normally looks suspicious. Yeah, suspicious, and those, if of course you get a big sign here that says, you take care with this email, then your users hopefully look at that and say, okay, I'm carefully with this. I will be careful with this email. Next, there's a great feature: enable native external sender callouts. So basically, an external sender callout is a button you see here. It's called external. So basically, it allows you that to tag every email from outside your environment to say external. Why is that good? Because in some situations, especially in the impersonation scenarios, if you know that like my colleague comes from external, it might be suspicious. So it's included. It's available in Outlook, even in Outlook for mobile, as you see on the lower right side. Yeah, and you just enable it by running set -external in Outlook -enable true. So just run this PowerShell commandlet, enable it, and your environment, and it will show to your users. And that's a great thing. It's not an EOP MDO setting, but it helps you again, yeah, to so your users identify any spam and phishing threats. So general best practices: run Orca script regularly, yeah, and adjust your settings. So run the script like every half a year. You don't need to run it every day or every month, yeah. But I recommend it every quarter or every half a year, and make sure you understand the recommendations, work through them, the recommendations, and implement them. Don't just follow the Microsoft recommendations, yeah, but consider them for your environment. And of course, implement demarc and reject failures. Yeah, that's key, because your environment, if you accept everything, even if the sending domain or sending server tells you not to receive it, then of course your environment causes issues. Yeah, so implement demarc and reject failures. So I guess we are almost on top of the time. Yeah. The questions in the chat, maybe, do you have any best practices to share? Yeah, we can have a look, and yeah, or do you have any questions? Because that brings me to the end of my session, and we can have like 3-4 minutes questionnaire. Yeah. Feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll open it in a minute. Yeah. So I got useful links, resources. So this will be in the share. Yeah. So when my slides are shared for the ICSS conference. Yeah. I added what's next? Microsoft Security Pilot Copilot in action. So yesterday, when I prepared my slide deck, I thought about if I add something about Microsoft Security Copilot, which is of course the Copilot for MDO, for Microsoft Defender and Exchange Online Protection. I thought, well, no, I don't add a slide because it's not widely available, but I add a video. So you can watch what the Microsoft Security Copilot will do in the future. The key thing is it will help you to understand what needs to be done when a threat happens, which is very interesting. So click on that video and you will see it in YouTube. So as I said, thank you for my session. Thank you for listening to my session. Here's my my LinkedIn QR code. Feel free to contact me. Feel free to contact me via email. Yeah. And I have to say thank you for all the sponsors, of course, of this conference. It's awesome. I've been listening for it all morning. Yeah. And let's have a look through the chat if there's any questions. So any questions?
So we are having few questions from Purav. So the first one is, what are the least privileged permissions needed for ORCA?
Apology, if you well, at least for Orca script, you need read permissions, of course, yeah. So a global view, for example, would be good. Yeah, you don't need write permissions, but read permissions. Yeah, on all settings that Orca is reading, and these are tenant settings. So basically, it's a global read. Can the DKIM keys be stored in Azure Key Vault and then set up key rotation policies to auto rotate? That's an interesting question because the DKIM keys are stored in Exchange Online only. So they are not stored, so you don't export them. So they are fully stored in the Exchange Online protection environment. So you don't need to store them somewhere else in the Azure Key Vault, because Azure Key Vault is for your keys. Yeah, the DKIM keys are system-generated keys, and you just rotate them. So Purav, does this answer your question? Any more questions?
Okay, if you are having any more questions, you can raise your hand and go ahead.
Yeah. Did you stop the recording yet? No, it's not yet.
No.
Okay. Okay, I guess